Good morning, Africa. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Andelan Learning Community Global Meetup for the ALC 4.0. This particular session is targeted at countries where we are not hosting offline meetups, because today, the 29th of June, we are supposed to be hosting offline meetup across the Andelan locations, which includes Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. So if you are not in any of these countries, this is also an opportunity for you to experience what these other countries will be experiencing. So here in the call, we have a couple of mentors that will be taking us through the 3 tracks that we are handling in this iteration of the program. So I have AJ in the call, I have Toby, I have Owal. So I will be giving them opportunity to introduce themselves. I myself, my name is Sam Mesidem. I am from Nigeria. I am a program assistant for the Southeast region of Nigeria. AJ Rose, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so I'm AJ. I'm from South Africa. I'm a self-taught developer turned from technical IT support to web development in the recent few months. And I'm also a mentor for the mobile web specialist track. And I think pretty much everyone has seen me jumping around through Slack, trying to answer as many questions as possible. So that's my introduction. Thanks.
All right, thank you, AJ. Toby, please introduce yourself. Toby, are you there? Okay, Owal, could you please introduce yourself?
And hi. Okay, thank you very much, Sam. Hi, everyone. Yeah, ALMS here. Don't worry. I just joined the call. I just jumped into the call. Like I'm not supposed to be on this call. I know. Yeah. So my name is Awal MS, and one way or the other, I have sent 1 or 2 or 10 mails to your box, and I've been dissolving on Slack from ALC 2.0 till date. So it's a pleasure to be here, even though I'm leaving in the next few minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Owal. Hello, Toby, are you there? Please introduce yourself. Okay, so while we are waiting for Toby to join us and tell us a little bit about himself, we are going to be talking about our expectation, what we expect from you learners. As a team, we have set out some things that you need to do for you to be considered for the next stage of the program. So the first thing that you have to consider is we are so much interested in you consuming so much content from plural sites, but we set a limit of at least 4 hours of content before you can be considered. But considering a situation where we have somebody that has consumed over 8 hours or 10 hours, yet you are targeting 4 hours, the person that consumed more hours of content will have upper hand. So we expect you to consume more content, take your IQ test, and make improvements. Aside that, we have a couple of hashtags that we are monitoring. So as a learner, you are expected to share your stories, and one of those hashtags is I think we have 50 days of coding. Few minutes, please. Let me get all our hashtags. Okay, so we have 150 days of ALC4. We have Grow with Google. We have ALC with Google. So the team will be monitoring all these hashtags. Use them, share your stories on social media, and definitely you will just find yourself in the next stage of the program. Toby, I can see you around. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was having network challenges. So, my name is Ezike Tobina. I'm an Android developer at Softcom NG, and I'm from Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Toby. So without wasting much of your time, we are going to be moving straight through the walkthrough by mentors. And I think AJ Rules will take us first on the web track, what you are expected to do, or if you're having any challenge. We earlier sent a link that you can post your questions that our mentors will be treating after every session. So let's go straight to AJ Rules as he takes us through the web track.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen here. Let's hope everyone can see it. Let's just get this ready. Okay. So just to quickly dive into a few of the more asked questions that I've been seeing through Slack is whether you should consume all 2 hours of the content for our 2 channels, and you don't have to. It's about just over 200 hours, and that's just too much, I think, for anyone to work through whilst learning and understanding everything. But you should aim for, like it's been said, more than 4 hours, 10 hours, as much as you possibly can to have the best chance to move on to the next section. So the 2 channels that you need to join is the MWS Learning Phase 1 main track and the MWS Phase 1 deep dive. If you open your Pluralsight website to the library page, you will see them both at the bottom. So you can open both links. Let's just wait for it to load. And you need to make sure that you're joined. So if you leave the channel, it will be a orange join channel button, and you can just make sure that you're joined to the one and the second, which is a lot more content. So diving into the actual section, something else that I've seen people struggle with is retaking the skill IQ tests. So you need to either wait 3 months to retake the skill IQ test, or you need to complete 60% of a path. A path is either HTML5 or CSS or JavaScript. You only have to do, if you have to retake the HTML one, focus on getting 60% of the content done for that channel. So as you can see, there is quite a lot. I'm not sure how many hours there are, but I think around 8 hours or 10 hours for the HTML, you will unlock the test for the next one. And the same for the CSS and the JavaScript path. Another thing that I think we can focus on quite a lot for this session is the getting a JavaScript development environment up and running. It's something that a lot of students are struggling with. So this particular course is part of the Nodejs channel or the Nodejs path. I'm not sure how familiar all the learners are with Nodejs. It's a JavaScript interpreter / compiler made for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, where you can run JavaScript on the server side. And you can use different libraries like Express or Happy or Koa to create HTTP frameworks or APIs that people can use. And one of the prerequisites for taking this course is to install Node.js at a minimum. So you can download that from the Node.js website. And if you go here, you can click on download, and you can download either for Windows, Mac, Linux, any version that you need. You do need to note that NPM, the way to install and manage JavaScript packages, are included, so you don't have to worry about installing NPM. That's already done. And to download the course, you can just on the main page for that course, on the exercise files, there will be a download exercise files button where you can get the files. Something else that I've noticed that people are struggling with, particularly with this course is NSP, or Node Security Platform, I think it's its name, being discontinued. That has been replaced by NPM Audit. So you do need to make sure that you're using NPM Audit instead of trying to use incorrect packages that have been deprecated. And also people have been struggling with the Babel not working, particularly with this course. Either the error message flags the word import or the word chalk as an error. That's your Babel config that's not working correctly. Something else that everyone should be aware of is that there's a study guide specifically for us in the mobile web specialist track. The link is here at the top if you want to go to it, and you can see sample questions and the type of topics that we need to be really good at and understand at for the Google MWS exam. So it's between basic layout and styling, networking, accessibility, making forms and websites very accessible, using HTML5, semantics, header tags, footer tags, making sure you're using the correct links, anything that can make a website more accessible. Progressive web apps, that's basically using service workers, getting comfortable with configuring a service worker. Also setting up a manifest file so it can be installed on a Android device, or even now Windows 10 can install websites locally as a small app. Performance optimization and caching is also a topic. Testing and debugging. I'm not sure exactly what form of testing they are expecting of us, if it's actually a testing framework that we would need to use. But going forward, we will maybe get more information. Understanding definitely ES 2015, so new JavaScript concepts, const and let, how it works, and mobile web forms, how to make web forms more accessible and better for mobile devices. Usually large forms are really a pain to use on mobile devices. Also, so the 4 hours minimum that you need to do for the minimum qualification for the next phase is split between either the main track or the what's it called, a deep dive track. It's your choice which one you want to get started with and which you want to focus on. Your main focus should be on these three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Not only are these the foundations which Angular, React, Vue, everything is built on, but it's also going to be the main focus for the exam. They aren't going to use in the Google exam Vue.js or React.js. They're going to use HTML, CSS. So you need to be able to understand good markup, how it's written. So the HTML5 Foundation HTML5 Foundation course is a really excellent course. It's only been released in the last few years. It's very up to date, very well done. The semantic HTML should also be a very good focus that you need to focus on. Accessibility, since that's in the exam, you need to understand what the WCAG 2.0 means, what it means to have good color scaling between background and foreground colors, and making sure that you're using colors that colorblind people can discern between a background and a foreground. Practical HTML5 is also a course that should be focused on. Web components isn't that much of a focus. I don't expect it to be in the course, but it is a new thing in HTML. It's interesting. It's basically creating templates and making very small user interfaces in just vanilla HTML without having to use React or anything else. Another course that should be focused on HTML5 is audio, video, WebRTC. I think video and audio tags might be used in the exam as well. And then optimizing communication and offline apps should also be a focus on the HTML path. Moving to the CSS track, it's the smallest one that we have. There's only a few courses here. It's one of the fastest one to go through. And if you do need to retake the skill IQ test, where you need to finish at least 60% of the content, the CSS path is the fastest one to retake and to finish at least 60%. So again, it's HTML, CSS. It's a very small and basic introduction course. You'll notice some of these courses are a bit out of date, 2011, 2014. Not all of the courses are made recently. So some of the things might be a bit out of date. Some of it might not be correct anymore. You can just do a quick Google search, go to MDN or the Google Developer Docs. They're usually better up to date. And you can also find more information there. I've had a student ask me about the Bootstrap 3 page, what to do there. My suggestion would be to continue with the Bootstrap 3 just for the course because a lot of things have been removed. And then when you are done with the course, you can maybe update it to Bootstrap 4 or do your own project using Bootstrap 4. That's a good thing to learn about as well. It's a CSS preprocessor that allows you to do more things like variables, which weren't in CSS until very recently, mixins, functions. It allows you to write cleaner, more expressive CSS that then gets compiled back to CSS. So that's a course that you can focus on as well. So that's just the CSS section. And then the JavaScript section is the last big one of the three that you need to focus on. As you can see, this course was in the previous section. I think this one is in all three. So if you do it in one path, you don't have to watch it again in all paths. This is just the beginner section. It's very fundamental, and everyone should have an easy time working through this section. The intermediate one is objects and prototypes. Prototypes is one of the harder things to understand in JavaScript and to understand correctly. So that should be a very big focus for you as well. Practical design patterns in JavaScript. This is a really excellent course that teaches you different design patterns. I think they've got singletons, what's called a revealing module pattern. It's different design patterns specifically that works well in JavaScript websites. So this should be a focus, and it will allow you just to understand JavaScript at a higher level than usually. And then best practices is a good course as well as the ES6 rapid training. Since we need to understand ES 2015, which is basically ES6, you do need to focus on that course as well, since it's specifically going to be asked in the exam. What do I have else here? So this is also a website that you can go to for questions if you have any doubts about what phase we are in or what is needed to go to the next phase. It's just at the Help Grow with Google website, and it will tell you what you need to get in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS for each phase as well as the project phase. Wondering if there's any questions perhaps in the YouTube that I might be missing or anything that people would like me to focus on perhaps. I'm not seeing anything specifically. Post the study guide link in the description. I'll post it in Slack in a few minutes. I don't think I can post it in either the description or in the live stream, but I will post the link in Slack. So this should be your go-to main place to get to. So if you have any doubts on if you are learning correctly for the exam, or what should I be focused on, I finished maybe the HTML section. I do understand semantic HTML. I can write header tags, footer tags. I can make a website responsive. What should be my next focus? This should be the page to go to. So actually, let's dive into a bit more into each topic of the guide. So as you can see, the sample question shows you what to expect for the main exam. You will get a question where you can view the code. This doesn't work at the moment, and you can edit the code. From my understanding, we will have about 4 hours for the mobile web specialist exam, and there's about 40 or 20 questions, which gives you about 15 minutes per question. So you really have to go through it really quick. You will need to have a good foundational understanding of each of those topics that's basically highlighted here for us. Basic website layout and styling. It's understanding the DOM. It's using the correct document type and viewport tags, using a grid-based layout, using CSS, understanding media queries. That's something very fundamental to understand. Multimedia tags, that's the video and audio course for the HTML section that we were on. So that course will need to be focused on to understand this section. Responsive images and touch and mouse events is also very fundamental, and each section has a resources section. The code labs are practical examples, so you can actually sit and work through practical examples. I give you questions, and you can basically go from step 1, step 2, and it goes through every single step that you would need to understand. So if you get stuck at a particular section, using media queries, you can go back to the CSS path and then rewatch the content, or you can use MDN to check the syntax and how to use media queries. So this will take you a step-by-step process of what basically would be expected of you. And these web fundamentals link all to Google's own website. So those are extra resources to go through as well. The next is front-end networking. This is going to be heavily JavaScript based. So you can basically go through the JavaScript sections like best practices, advanced techniques, the rapid ES6 training, and intermediate phase. So the advanced phase and the intermediate phase should prepare you well enough for the front-end networking section, which is fetching data using Fetch. Fetch is a browser API that is promise-based, not callback function-based. When you go through the JavaScript path, you will understand Fetch. I think it is in one of the sections. Basically checking if the data is valid and parsing it correctly, rendering response data to the page, understanding how to take data and basically insert it into the DOM, using post, the method, understanding how coarse cross-origin resource sharing works with fetch requests, and basically, as I said here, handling fetch with promise chaining. And the code labs here as well takes you step by step through the Fetch API. So if you get stuck at a particular point, you can just go and read documentation, rewatch the videos, make sure that you do actually understand it. I'm actually not sure why it's taking so long to load now. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's see if there's any more questions. Perhaps. Emmanuel asked a question that wasn't answered. I'm not seeing the question. What is the deadline for IQ test for this phase? That will be just before August 6th. That's our last day. So this is running until August 6th. So if you can do the IQ test in the last week or so, that would be good. So that gives you almost the entire July, which is 4 weeks, to focus, study, take it as slow and easy as possible whilst learning as much as possible. And then in the last week, when you basically finished 60% of the content and you unlocked a new test, then you can basically do the test in the last week, see how good you score, and then basically just before the phase is over. I see someone asking how to retake. I scored expert and proficient. Do I need to take? No, you do not. Proficient is the bare minimum. If you can retake it, let's say in the last week, and with the possibility of getting expert, do so. It's going to give you the best chance. We are going from around 33,000 to 10,000 students. So basically, scoring higher and completing more course content will give you the best opportunity to move forward. So if you can redo it, please do. If you scored proficient, that is the bare minimum. You don't necessarily have to retake it unless you really want to. But I would suggest getting proficient at a very bare minimum for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and focus heavily on completing more course content, because I think the course content might count for more. So rather focus on the actual content and just get a proficient at the minimum. So, okay, this website finally loaded. So fetching for the JavaScript section is again the same. It takes you from step 1, getting started, what you should know basically. This tells you what's your prerequisite. This tells you what you will need. Node and NPM. For those of you who have already finished or are currently working on setting up a JavaScript development environment, you will have these currently. And then it takes you from getting set up, installing the correct repository, which is the code examples. It gives you basically questions and things that you need to try to do on your own before it gives you the explanation of what is happening. Let's move on to the next section, which is accessibility. This is probably one of the hardest sections because not everyone either focus or experiences some form of disability. So we usually just wrongly design and make websites for ourselves or people that we do know, but we don't focus on making websites accessible to all users. So this is something that can be quite hard to test and to understand yourself. So one of the things that I would suggest users of Windows download is NVDA Screen Reader, which is a free screen reader, so I remember, that basically allows you to test your website and use it as a user would usually do who is either blind or physically disabled. NVDA is, as far as I know, completely free, and there is no fee for this. It's probably one of the best screen readers that I've used myself. So this will allow you to test your website, make sure that it is accessible, and to get a better understanding of how to make a website more accessible. There's also a lot of resources, especially Google's resources are some of the best for accessibility since they focus that heavily on it. So if you want more resources on how to implement it, you can use the guide page, come to these resources, read through it, and this section specifically tells you what might be expected of you in the exam. Let's go to the next section, progressive web apps. That's using service workers, the app shell model, and what's called the manifest file, which allows your app or your website to be installed as a native app. So again, we have code labs, which are practical tests, 4 of these that you can work through, from scripting the service worker, which basically takes your step-by-step progress from how to set up a service worker, the lifecycle methods, intercepting network requests for either making your website more faster or providing resources and content when someone is offline. The second code lab, if it loads. Let's go to this one first. So the offline quick start also takes you into specifically Lighthouse, how to audit your website, taking the app offline, which is also using the service worker and the necessary code that you would need. The service worker will be a question in the exam, so understanding how to set this up, getting either practical experience by taking a website that you might have a small project that isn't used a lot and trying to make it offline, or taking a company or a friend's website and making it offline with a service worker, practicing, because this is something that you will need to understand for the Google exam. The next section is performance optimization and caching. This is heavily focused on JavaScript specifically. So there is a course on the JavaScript path for, I don't know remember if it's here or in the channel, that's specifically based on having a good understanding on performance, specifically to JavaScript. It's this one, Website Performance by Carl Simpson. Most of you might know Carl Simpson. He wrote You Don't Know JavaScript. He's the author of that, and he has a really good understanding of JavaScript. So going through the website performance, understanding how to optimize JavaScript, what JavaScript can slow down, is really fundamental for the performance section. And again, we have resources, code labs, YouTube series, web fundamentals. Those are usually just Google Docs. Before I go on to the next section, I'm going to check if there is maybe questions. Will we be graded for all 5 paths, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, Node? No. We will only be graded for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Angular is a TypeScript framework. You can learn it on your own, but you won't be graded on it, and then you won't be graded on the skill IQ test. And the same for Node.js. Node.js isn't something that you will be graded on. Can I study both the MWS track and the deep dive? Yes, absolutely. A lot of the content between the two will be the same, but my suggestion is start with the main track. That is the main first channel. Work through it, finish it. It's very short. It's only about 20-25 hours. And then when you are done with that, then move into the deep dive and focus on starting at the top and working your way down slowly. Someone's asking, is this a physical exam or digital online? It's a digital online exam that you will complete in the browser. What I've read about it, you'll need internet connection and power for about 4 hours. That's the length of the exam. And you will need sufficient internet so that it doesn't drop down and causes you to basically stop the exam. Any more? How is the exam done? Online. You can use Chrome. I think they suggest that if we do the exam, that you use Chrome. What score should we get for the exam to pass? That I'm not exactly sure. When in South Africa can you take the exam? That will be either the end of the year or next year. basically we're going through phase 1 now. We still have to go through phase 2, which is about the same length. That's about 6 weeks or so. We still need to find out the correct timeline. And then we still have the project phase. So the exam is quite some time away still. Which editor should we use for mobile web design? Visual Studio Code or Atom? Those are both really, really good. Could you just pick one of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? No, not really. All three will be an exam, and all three are very fundamental to web development. So you will need to understand that. My suggestion would be, if you are very, very new, to focus on just HTML, understanding it, then moving on to CSS, and lastly, JavaScript. But you will need to understand all three for the exam, and you will need to understand all three as a web developer. You unfortunately cannot just focus on one. Let's see if there's any. We'll be able to, if we by any chance have difficulty with internet or electricity issues whilst writing the exam, will we be able to retake it? I don't think so. I actually read online that they mentioned, please note that if you do drop or your internet powers off, you do basically lose the exam. So this is Africa. It's kind of a bit hard for good internet and electricity for 4 hours continuously. But yeah, you will need to stay online for the entire test. And then there's just 2 more questions that I saw. Do you need to be in a locked room when taking the exam? I don't know. Yeah, I don't actually know. They didn't say anything about where you need to write your exam. It's basically your own device, so from home or your office or wherever. Will Angular be tested in the exam? No, it's just HTML, just CSS, and just JavaScript. So those need to be your main focus for the exam. Testing and debugging. So I'm not sure if there's a specific JavaScript testing library or framework that they're going to use in the exam. I'll see if I can find out more information. But you should be... I'm trying to find the correct word for this, but you should have practice in writing unit tests. So there is Jest as a testing framework made from Facebook. It's one of the current best testing frameworks to practice on. So you can try and learn this, use it in a project. It works for vanilla JavaScript, React, TypeScript, Babel. It basically works everywhere. You also have an older one that still works, which is Karma. So you can practice that as well, understanding how unit tests work, how to write your own, because it does seem that it will be in the exam. Understanding the developer tools for Chrome is also fundamental. Setting breakpoints is using the Chrome developer tools. Using console logs, I think everyone basically understands how to console.log anything. And again, there are more resources from Google themselves. And the big part is understanding the new versions of JavaScript, which is ES6 var let const, understanding this for arrow functions and the fact that you cannot access this always the same everywhere. That's a very, very weird keyword. It takes a lot of time to understand correctly. Understanding for-of loops, maps, which is a new data structure. Understanding sets, which is also a new data structure. Understanding that one is basically like an object, that is a map. And sets is like an array, but it's only unique items. So understanding the new data structures and so understanding the new functions and ways of creating variables in JavaScript is also going to be very fundamental. Understanding promises. So again, there's code labs that you can work through step by step, so that at any time throughout the entire section, if you want to practice what you're learning, or if you want to confirm that whether you are understanding what you're learning, go to the main page for the study guide, go to the section that you want to test on, which is either going to be networking, accessibility, website layout, JavaScript, and work through the code labs if there are any code labs. That will allow you to test and see if there's anything that you still need to focus on, and to basically gain an understanding of whether you're understanding what is basically being taught to you. The second to last one is mobile web forms, which is just using the new HTML5 way of doing forms. Making sure you add labels to all inputs. That makes it also very accessible. So that's a very good thing to understand. Inputs with appropriate name, type, auto-completed attributes. This also helps for mobile devices. If you can add the correct input type, for instance, numbers, it shows you a different keyboard. So if you have a text input, it will show you the normal keyboard. But if you have an input that's number based or date based, it shows a completely different keyboard on Android or iOS, which makes it a lot faster for users and better for users to just fill in information. Front-end validation of inputs, that's understanding regular expressions. That's what patterns are. Setting the max length for input so that users can't type more than what is needed. And setting required, which forces the user to fill in a field. You should note that any person that understands a bit of web development or understands how the Chrome or Firefox developer tools work can change these. They can change the pattern, they can disable it, they can change the max length or delete the required statement. So in a real world situation, you would do front-end validation as well as back-end validation. You cannot just do validation on one side. It's not really practical in a production environment. And the last one that we can talk about is basic website layout and styling, understanding HTML, understanding HTML5 and the new markup that it brought to us, understanding CSS, understanding Flexbox, CSS Grid, how to make a website responsive, and using media queries, everything. And yeah, using video and audio tags, which is also new to HTML5. So a very last thing I can say is your focus should be on HTML5 a lot. You understanding the tags, the syntax for the tags, where they can be used. Using something like the NVDA screen reader to test that your website is accessible and flows correctly if someone uses a keyboard perhaps. Understanding how to mark up a website, how to style a website, how to use JavaScript to make it interactive. Angular and React and Node builds on this in their own way, but the fundamental specifically for front-end web development always stays with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's the fundamentals, it's the foundations of the web, and it will always stay the same. If React dies and gets replaced with Svelte, which is a new library for JavaScript, then you'll still need to understand how the DOM works. You still need to understand how styling works. You'll still need to understand how JavaScript works. Using and learning the newest and hottest library and framework is fun. And it makes it really easy to develop, but it also abstracts you away from the fundamentals. And if you then go back to it, it makes it really hard to understand how to do something, or if you switch to a new library, you don't always understand how they're doing it because you don't have the fundamentals or the foundations. Lastly, let's just check if there's some more questions perhaps that someone are asking in the YouTube chat. Is there a site where we can do a demo exam? No, not really. I don't think there are demo exams that we can do specifically for Google. We probably could, as a community, come up with questions, maybe even challenges that we can design for ourselves, basically to give a website with bad markup and tell users to make it good, to make the markup correct or to fix it. That's something that we can do perhaps as a community, but there isn't exams that we can test or take as a test. You can download videos with the offline app. Yes, so this is something I want to show as well. It's something that a lot of students have been asking, is how to download content. So Pluralsight has their own download page with their own apps. They have it for iPhone, Android, Windows, and Mac. And you can download their official apps. And I would suggest sticking with their official apps. Using third-party apps can get you banned actually, and once you're banned, you won't be able to progress with the course. Your progress will be synced back online. So if you do download a course and you go offline and you work through the content, just close the app before you go online. Get on the internet, open an app and sign into the app. Usually within the first 1 or 2 minutes, it will sync. If it's not syncing and you are online, just close and open the app again. It will, 99% of the time, it will sync your progress. So don't worry about using the offline app. I know many people don't have access to good internet or consistent internet, so definitely make sure you are using the offline downloaders. Will the content of Pluralsight will be available to us after August 6? Yes. It will be. We will have the content until 15 January 2020. That's when our scholarship account, the subscription for our scholarship runs out. So we still have until 15th January of next year. Will the exam be on HTML or HTML5? It will be HTML5 focused. It will use the new header tags, footer, main, article, section, nav, as well as video, audio. Those are all new markup from HTML5. Which courses I need to focus on the most? I would suggest the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript path. So this is a JavaScript path. You can go to, let's try and find it. So HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. Those should be your 3 top priorities. And you should work through the ones that you struggle the most. So here, for instance, is HTML5, audio and video, the new HTML tags. And it's about 5 hours. So you will definitely understand audio and video for websites when you are done with this course. But yeah, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the 3 paths to focus on. Angular and Nodejs and all the different other courses we have is secondary. It shouldn't be your main focus. That is for your own personal learning, basically. Let's check if there's anything more. When is the exam starting? About end of this year. So it's still a very, very long way, and Andela will communicate with us sufficiently way before the exam starts. Your focus is just currently understanding the content and making sure that you understand as much as possible. There's no exam today, no. Does your skill IQ test affect you moving on to phase 2? Yes. Proficient is the bare minimum that you need to get on all 3 the paths. Higher is better. Watching content is also better. But if you don't get a proficient or expert score, most likely you will not advance. So the skill IQ test does affect you moving on. After the first phase, do we still have access to Pluralsight? Yes. I just noticed I have a lot to learn. Yeah, there's so much to learn. Okay. Can we access other track courses? No, we cannot access Android or Cloud Track from our track. Will phase 2 contain more content? Most likely, if it goes by the way that it has been, we will most likely get more content. The biggest thing that I think why it would be because these channels are named phase 1 main track, phase 1 deep dive. So this kind of gives the hint that these two are only for this phase, and for phase 2 we will get new channels with new courses. When will phase 1 end? August 6, which is in about 5 weeks. So we still have a lot of time to learn. I don't know if Sam is here and if he's listening. Sam, are you here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm thinking I should perhaps walk through the Slide.io website, just see if there's any questions more that's asked there. I've went through the content itself and what should be focused on, just to see if there's maybe questions specifically to the cloud track, because I'm
Yeah,
almost basically done.
yeah, we have some questions on Slido.
Yes.
Like, I think Mohammed Damilola is asking, he said, I choose AngularJS for the project, not knowing what it's all about because I'm a newbie. Can I still switch to Vanilla JS?
Yes, so that vote that I will set on Slack was basically to get an indication from the community what library or vanilla, which is just normal standard JavaScript, will be basically liked by the community. Because for the project phase, we're in phase 1, the next is phase 2, and then we'll have the project phase. So I will just basically want to get an indication from us which is our preference. Do we prefer Angular or do we prefer vanilla? I don't think it has been chosen, and he did say on Slack that the vote doesn't necessarily indicate what will be chosen. It's just an indication what we would prefer as a community. But for Angular, if it is chosen, there is in the deep dive section a entire, I think like 30 hours on Angular, which we can then focus on. 52 hours, sorry. There's a lot of time because it's TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript with types. So you will need to learn and understand TypeScript as well as the Angular framework. But yeah, like I said, for the project, it hasn't been decided yet.
Okay, thank you very much. So another question is, I have completed HTML5, Introduction to CSS and JavaScript, getting started. Can I jump straight to Angular or Nodejs?
Yeah, so I would suggest not jumping to backend development like Node or Angular because they're two different ones. Angular is a front-end framework. Node.js is a back-end runtime environment which allows you to create servers. So my suggestion would be to stick to HTML, go through as much as possible, go on to CSS and go on to JavaScript. And then only after you completed those three and you feel that you've got a really good foundationals understanding, then go on to Angular. Because you will get stuck with JavaScript or CSS during Angular.
All right. Another question from William. He says, I am on the web specialist track. Please, I want to create a drop-down nav menu for my project instead of the nav on the header. How do I go about it?
So I would suggest they can maybe message me on Slack so that I can walk through the steps, because you do have CSS libraries like Bootstrap or even Foundation, which allow you to make it a lot easier to create drop-down menus. Otherwise, the default is using CSS to basically hide or show different elements, and using JavaScript to basically make the website interactive. But if the student wants, they can DM me on or direct message me on Slack, and I can walk through the steps with them to get that working.
All right, thank you for that. Another person says, is it a must for a mobile web specialist to learn Angular and Nodejs?
So mobile web specialist shouldn't focus that heavily on Node.js, mainly because it's backend, not front end. Angular is used a lot. So if you can, going forward, once you finish the basics and the foundations, learn Angular, I would suggest it. Angular is widely used. It's very popular. There's a lot of versions already out of it. But as a front-end developer, Angular, React, Vue, those are front-end. So those should be your focus. Node.js isn't front-end, so don't focus that heavily on it. That's it.
All right. So I think that's all the questions we can take from Slido. You can just round up.
Okay, yes. So just one more thing, something I see a lot here. Vanilla.js is just a way to refer to JavaScript. I see a lot of students being confused either in Slack or here. Vanilla.js is just normal JavaScript without any libraries, without any frameworks or additions. It's JavaScript that would work in a browser without anything. So vanilla is just our way of basically referencing JavaScript. Just so the confusion stops, because I do see people Googling for vanilla JavaScript and asking where to download it, but you won't be able to download it. But basically, to round out, thanks. I am still on Slack, and I will be on Slack for a couple of hours still. So if you have questions, any more doubts that you have, struggles with getting started with the project or downloading files, please message me either in just the general chat or sending me a message on Slack. I don't mind helping anyone. I love helping. So please feel free to reach out to me. And thanks for Andela for inviting me to speak and to basically help the learners. Thanks, Sam.
All right. Thank you so much, AJ, for that insightful session. I believe our learners have been able to get one or two things from your session. So I want to implore all the learners, you can always reach AJ on Slack. He has mentioned his username. Reach him if you have any challenge. We are very sure he will help you overcome them. So next will be our cloud track, and we have one of our mentors that will be handling that. So I will give him the opportunity to tell us a little about himself. He's Timothy. Hello, Timothy.
Hi, Sam.
Welcome.
Hi everyone. Thank you very much. Hi everyone. Hope you're doing great. My name is Timothy. I'm from Kano, Nigeria, and I'm also one of the mentors for the ALC Cloud track. And I hope to be able to walk us through some of the things we have doubts with today and answer a few questions from learners also.
All right, thank you, Timothy. So it's 10 a.m. West African time over here, so we are moving straight to the cloud track. Over to you, Timothy.
Okay, cool. So for the cloud track, basically I would just like to show us a few things around the courses and how to basically prepare for the certification exam, which would be taken at the end. And I think I'll be picking up questions also from YouTube and try to answer questions. And I think it would be fine for anyone to ask questions at any point in time. So firstly, I would love to employ everyone to try and go through the contents as much as possible, and also be able to answer the quiz and all of that. Then I think preparation for the exams. I mean, the courses are quite very important for preparing for the exams, because if so, I'll be sharing my screen to show us what we need basically to get ready for the exam. Let me just do that right away. So yeah, looking at the cloud associate exams, it basically has like a few sections which questions will be asked from, and this is for the associate cloud engineer exams. And for the first section, it's basically around cloud solutions environments. Basically, what the exams would contain is they would love to know your experiences working with Google Cloud and being able to handle projects, manage billing accounts around projects, and also IAM permissions for projects. Second section would also be around cloud solutions, but then it boils down to a few things in the compute engine section. So, I mean, as a user, as a learner trying to take the exam, you should be able to know a few of these things. You should know about container technologies, basically Kubernetes, and I think recently there's a new solution called Cloud Run, which also goes into the whole containers category. And then yeah, for compute engine, learners should be familiar with virtual machines and a lot of concepts around spinning up instances and things around launch marketplace, and a few other things you'd learn from the course. Also goes down to talking around storage for the exam. You need to understand how to use Cloud SQL, BigQuery, Spanner. You won't be given too in-depth questions on them, but you probably asked questions like, say, for example, if I was to have a particular problem, which of the products would best fit to solve that? And so for storage also, especially cloud storage, they have a lot of storage options, and as the regional, multi-regional, nearline, and cloudline, you'd most times be asked which of these options to adopt and all of that. They also mentioned Cloud DNS here, which is a DNS service from Google and helps you manage your DNS configurations for your domain. There might be a few questions around that also. And the third section here talks around implementing a cloud solution. So this basically wants to know if you basically have what it takes to deploy a cloud solution for an organization. Most times you'll be given questions with scenarios. Say, for example, an organization has a particular problem. How would you go around solving it? What technique would you use? And a few practical questions, though, to test your skills and your experiences and how you can pull things together. So that basically covers a lot of things, covers a lot of things around compute engine also. You basically have to like bring in all your skills from what you've learned from storages, compute engine, networking, and a few other sections and the Google Cloud platform. Fourthly, also, it's still quite similar to the third section where you basically need to keep a cloud solution up and running. I think one of the major things here is talking around managing servers that you already have running and infrastructure, and a few things around debugging, which is quite important also. And that's basically stack driver. And I'm quite sure all of these things are things we have on the Parasites course. If you're taking the course, you'd find a lot of these things being mentioned more than once, and it goes quite into details. You might have to do a few reading to back up facts that you're learning, and which is really good. You also need to do a lot of practice with quick labs. So you can get quick labs access from your quiz to try out stuff, because quick labs basically gives you this practical hands-on environment where you can try out things while learning. Also, in addition, there's there's a practice exam you can take. It's basically a Google form quiz that has multiple choices, but it's so basically the exam is covers a few things that you're probably going to see. I'm sharing my screen right now. I'm just going to try to take a test. Let's see, test. It's basically going to cover a few things around the exam and a few things you're going to see there. So you should be able to answer some of the questions. You can just go through this. I think I'll drop the link to the practice exam on YouTube channel right now for anyone who wants to try this out. So I'll also be going through I'll go into YouTube to pick up a few questions while I also try to answer. I'll try to bring in some facts from what we basically have on the course on Parasites. So from YouTube, I think one of the questions, Sam, I think you could help me catch some questions if I skip anyone. I think that'll be fine.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think one of the questions I can see here is from Infinite Blocks. Says, as a complete beginner, what do I need to first to be able to complete the cloud engineering space? What programming languages are the basics? So for cloud, it's for just Go Cloud Platform. It's basically not tied to any particular programming language. It's more of you being able to deploy applications, and it works with whatever language you're using. So what you should be familiar with, you can think of yourself as more of a DevOps person, someone that handles deployments. So you don't really need, it's not actually tied to a programming language, except where you're automating things. Say, for example, you're using Deployment Manager and you have to write YAML configurations or JSON configurations, for example, using Cloud Build. But yeah, it's not tied to a particular programming language. It's more of methodologies and processes along doing things around. And most of the times you're able to find things online, things you use. So like steps and commands. It's basically more around processes, commands, and a little bit of configurations and a lot of automations. Yeah, so that's one of the questions I can find. I'm trying to check for another one. So David asks if he can take both Google Cloud and Web Specialist exam. I don't think so. I think Sam can clarify that. You're basically supposed to take one track in particular. So I think you can just take one depending on the one you got access to when you got your Pluralsight access.
Okay, Timothy. There are some people that got selected in 2 tracks. Some even got selected in all the 3 tracks. So you'll be taking exam in all the tracks that you were selected for.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification, Sam. So I'm dropping the link to the practice exam on YouTube now. So basically, practice exam actually allows you. Okay, it seems I can post links here. I'll probably be doing that on Slack, or I'll send it over to Sam and he'd push it out. So basically, practice exam allows you to take practice exams for the Google Cloud certification, and you probably would see a few questions coming out in the actual exam from the practice exam. But although the practice exam doesn't cover as much range as the actual exam does, but yeah, it's good you actually go through it. It's quite similar to your Pluralsight quiz, which you have to take, your IQ test, which you have to take, because most of the questions there are objective questions, and you have to take them to probably see how good you are, and much of the content. And the good thing is taking the Pluralsight quiz shows you areas you need to focus on. So let's say you failed a lot of questions around compute engine. You recommended to take more courses around compute engine and do a lot of do a few more research or give more focus to that particular area. So it's good for you to go over your Pluralsight IQ test, take it over again, and see where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and try to focus on those weaknesses so you could be able to answer questions very well when you're taking the certification exams. Okay, yeah. So there's a question. There's a comment here from Supreme saying I should drop. Okay, I think I will drop my Slack handle. That's like for you. Some please can you check if there's any question on Slido, if possible.
Okay, one thing I would appreciate if you can do is, can you give us some kind of recommendation for learning and things like that? That will help the learners.
Okay, yeah, great, sure. So personally, what I've used in the past, apart from the whole Parasites content, there's if you check, okay, I'm going to share my screen now to probably just show us that. Coursera has a very nice course on Google Cloud. It covers a lot of nice concepts which would be asked during the exam. It would be great for learners to probably take those courses apart from the Parasite course and try to do a few reading also. And one of the things I recommend mostly is taking Quick Labs quests. So Quick Lab is really awesome. I mean, you get to learn practical skills. These are basically skills. These are basically things you. So this is Quick Labs. I'm sure a few of us might have seen it from our program. It's a hands-on environment where we get to learn, and it's one of the very nice ways of learning how Google Cloud works and other cloud providers. So it basically gives you a hands-on environment on how to do a lot of things. And if you take a look at if you take a look at the exam, right down below, you would also most of these things here are things you are recommended to walk around with to have known in the past. If you check out the recommended experience for a lot of this, it's probably going to be okay. So for the exams, I think we'll be writing as learners. It's basically needs around 6 months experience and hands-on experience with GCP. It's fine if you have not used GCP in the past for any corporate work or anything, but then using Quick Labs would give you a lot of this information, a lot of these details on how to get hands-on practical skills using Google Cloud, and you'd be able to get your hands dirty with stuff, and you're basically not using your own personal accounts. You're making use of a test account which you get whenever you try to take a lab or a quest. So some of the things I recommend, Quick Labs a lot. It has a lot of categories you can learn based on, and I think if you check well, a few courses are recommended. I think the GCP Essentials is one of those courses that those quests that are highly recommended. You're supposed to take a lot of these labs here. So the way it works is okay. So I could pick a particular lab, let's say setting up network and HTTP load balancers. The way the labs work is they are time-based. You are expected to go through the instructions you have on a particular lab, and once you understand that, which it's more better for you to go through the lab instructions first before you even start the lab, so you have an overview of what you're getting into, and you can go ahead and start the lab. So I believe we'll be getting accounts, user credentials to log into Quick Labs, so you don't have to use your own personal account. So yeah, well, once you start the lab, you can see over here at the left top, you have a timer which counts down, and most of the times you are probably not even going to exhaust this time. You might end up finishing the whole lab in lesser periods. One thing I try to do whenever I'm taking labs is to have them open on a private window, so I don't have to log out. So I'll have an incognito window open. I basically split my screens. So what I do is to go through the instructions here and try to do everything it says on the lab. And whenever I feel I've missed a step, I try to go back and see what I've missed. So Quick Labs is a really cool place to learn hands-on skills practically, and it gives you this feel of you trying to solve actual problems using Google Cloud, because they try to picture a scenario for you, a problem for you. Okay, I think for example here you're supposed to deploy a Nginx server and add up load balancers, set up some networking, and also enable HTTPS load balancers, because we have quite a few categories of load balancers on Google Cloud Platform. So yeah, these things basically just walk you through like a real life scenario of solving some cloud-based problems using GCP. If you noticed, there's no language specific feature. And most of the times where you even think about the whole language part is probably when you're thinking of what your users or your developers use in implementation. So you basically want to deploy. So if, for example, you're deploying a PHP application, you'd consider having servers around Nginx servers or Apache servers. But I mean, with the fact that you can basically have everything containerized in a Docker image. If your developers can do that, have a Docker file that configures the whole application. You don't even have to deal with whatever core codes they're using. You could just pick up the Docker image and deploy using things like let's say Kubernetes and even Cloud Run, which is a new solution on Google Cloud Platform. Basically just picks your Docker image and deploy them. So yeah, I think Quick Lab is one of the best contents I'm going to recommend for hands-on skills. And I think the Parasites course contains a lot of information. You should also try to download exercise files from Parasites. Try to read through the PDFs you have. It gives you a lot of details when you read through things in details. And also, whenever you have doubts, you can head up to cloud.google.com and check the documentation for a lot of these things. It could seem a little bit confusing at first until you start practicalizing and using them to solve problems. But feel free to walk into documentation of any of the things you are working with. They have a very good documentation, and I think for everything on Google Cloud, there's a quick start. It's basically a form of tutorial to help you walk through. So the category is basically that you probably have to focus on for the associate certificate exam is compute, storage, networking, and I think basically Stackdriver too. That's debugging. So those are the major areas, and then yeah, your billing also. And billing basically, so you basically want to know if you have what it takes to set up a cloud environment and enable billing across. You get some funny questions across billing just to test your skills on how to manage billing accounts on GCP. Apart from every other question that you get from compute engine, storage, networking, and debugging using Stackdriver. So I'm going to check YouTube now for other questions and see. Some I don't know if there's anything I'm missing out on. You could just put me on track. Okay, yeah. So I think one of the questions I saw here from Philip. Philip asks if he can take the lab more than once. Yeah, it's possible. You can always take your lab more than once, especially because there are times where on quick labs, you're probably taking the lab and your score don't get summed up together. So let's say it has a score, because when you notice on quick labs, at the top left you have a score showing, for example, you could have 0/100. If you're doing something and you missed a step a particular time, you might not get a complete step, and that's basically going to not mark that lab as done. So you can always exit a lab, but you have to enter a lab first before you start another lab. So you can always take a lab over and over again, and it's really good you do that, because you are basically going to see the step you missed and try to get that fixed.
All right. Okay. Before we go for more questions on the Slido account, we have Amaka in the call, so I would like her to also introduce herself and probably give us some recommendations for the cloud track.
Right, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So good morning. Sorry I joined late. Struggling with some network issues here. My name is Amaka. I am a learning facilitator at Andela. And fun fact is I'm also on the cloud track with ALC. So I think I don't really have much recommendations to say aside from what Timothy has said already. He mentioned about how the quick labs would really help, for that track, and I'll give a plus 1,000 to that. Like the quick labs are really helpful for all the modules that you'll be taking for the courses and the concepts that you'll be taking for the Google Cloud certification exam. So I don't really have much to say about recommendations, but I think Timothy has given like a very good detailed answer to that. Yeah, so that's all for me. I think so.
All right, thank you, Amaka. So we have a question from Slido. Somebody is asking, he said he went through the course in Pluralsight and he saw Python. So he's asking if there is any prerequisite for anybody before you can learn cloud technologies.
Okay, Timothy has. Okay, go ahead. Timothy, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Okay, thanks. So basically, I mean, I think if you want to focus on cloud, it's a good thing to understand how development works and how programmers get to ship code. You necessarily don't have to go into core coding details, but it's very good to learn how to, for example, execute applications. For example, if you were to deploy a Flask app, for example, a very minimal Flask app, Flask is based on Python, right? And a very minimal Flask app could be within just a single file, where you just run the file and have it running on a particular port, quite similar to the way you run Nodejs apps on just a single file. Now, the thing is, if you'd want to Dockerize such a file and have it deployed, you basically just need a server and exposing your ports, which is not does not have anything to do with programming. All you just need to do is to understand how developers ship their products. So most of the times you don't need nitty-gritty details on writing codes and doing all of that if you want to focus on cloud. But then with the whole concept of DevOps right now, it's more of having these two fields coming together and being able to ship products much faster and in a much better way. So I think you'll be on the safer side knowing a few things about development. But yeah, if you know cloud is your thing and you really want to focus on cloud, I don't think it's compulsory for you to have to learn programming in a hardcore way. But it's pretty good you have a few details about how things are being done and how servers are being managed and what servers has to do with a particular programming language. So like I gave example earlier, if you're dealing with a lot of applications are deployed on Nginx servers, Apache servers, even Python with the use of things like Guineacon and UWSGI. But generally, these are things you basically find online. You can always read up on stuff whenever you have doubts. And I'm sure you'd be able to find one or two things that are quite helpful. Yeah, I'm sure if I'm missing out anything, the mentors could add up.
Okay, thank you for that, Timothy. So another person is asking, can I use phone to practice in QuickLab as a GCP?
Okay, so for Quick Labs, I would not recommend you use your phone because you're basically doing great stuff on Quick Labs, right? You're spinning up instances from the Google Cloud platform. You're having access to Google Cloud Shell, and you're doing a lot of complex things, and it's going to overwhelming for your device to handle that. Even if you want to switch to a desktop environment, you probably have to start navigating through your whole screen. So if, okay, the only things I do in my mobile phone or Quick Labs is to read through the instructions for a lab. But anything that has to do with you starting a lab and taking all those instructions you have in the lab should be done on your laptop. Because and like I said, most of the times I have to use an incognito window. So basically going to split my screens, have the instructions on one screen, and have my lab on the other screen. So you won't be able to do those things on mobile. The only thing you could do with your mobile is to read through the instructions. Let's say you want to have a overhead of what the lab is about before you even go down into it, which is fine. But when you're starting labs, it's best to use your laptop. It basically needs a desktop view because that's that's one of the best ways for you to be able to go around it well.
All right, thank you, Timothy. So we have another question. It says, will Cloud Shell commands be covered in the exams?
Yeah. Okay. So I think a lot of sections in GCP have commands. I think almost everything you do on GCP has commands. I mean, most of the times right now, much of what I do is to write commands for basically everything. I can give a scenario of what we are working with right now, what I do with GCP. But then, yeah, you basically use Cloud Shell commands for most of the things you do. Spinning up instances. I mean, the whole GUI is there. It's fine. But for the purpose of the exam, and you might be asked a few command questions. You can be given, you can ask, okay, how do you create a database in Google Cloud? And you have 4 commands as your options, and you're expected to select one. So if you're not familiar with the commands, it might seem a bit confusing for you. And then I would say the commands are quite simple. They are things you can pick up and learn easily. You can always get reference to them. You don't have to know everything. But then if you understand how the commands are structured, I mean, they're really cool commands. They're very simple commands. You probably sometimes could even guess some of them, and you are right. So the commands they are very important. Taking the exam, you would find a lot of them come up, especially for even for things like BigQuery. So BigQuery has its own command. So a lot of services on GCP has their own commands. For database, to spin up databases, to create instances and all of that, they have commands. A lot of things can be done via commands. So it's best you understand to a very good extent some of these commands. And whenever you have doubts, you can always check the documentation, the official documentation of those services. There's always a reference showing you all of the commands and parameters you can pass to them. So that's a very good question. And I think it's really important. Every learner should try to get familiar with some of the commands you have on GCP.
All right, thank you for that. So I think we have more questions on the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I think I've missed a few, but I'll try to just go through the ones I can pick. So there are a lot of questions here around Quick Labs and whether it's free or not. Personally, I have like a few credits on GCP because I've organized a few Google Cloud study jams here in Kano, and I usually when you do that you have labs, and when you take even as attendees, whenever you attend this Google Cloud study jams and you go through the lessons well enough, you're basically going to get like a month access to Quick Labs, and a lot of times you could also share. So right now I have my own personal Quick Labs account shared with a lot of people, so they could take on labs whenever they want to. Yeah, so this is something. So just if I mean, one of the easiest way to get this lab credits is to try to get affiliated with your Google Cloud developers community locally. Whenever there are study jams, try to take those required labs, and I'm sure when you do that, you get like a month access for Quick Labs. And if you're following Google Cloud on Twitter, a lot of times there are challenges that you take and you get bonus credits for Quick Labs. So yeah, basically the labs are paid. A few of them are free. You can find some quests that are free, but then if you also you're also able to get free Quick Lab credits whenever you want to from some of the sources I've mentioned. I hope that clarifies that. Well, let me check. I'm checking for another question. Okay, yeah. Someone's asking about accounts for Quick Labs. So basically, for Quick Labs, except when you're using your own personal account, usually when you're taking courses, you get temporary accounts to take this Quick labs and quests. You don't basically use your own accounts. Use most of the temporary account you get from your courses, which is safer. So when you spin up, because what happens is after you are done, GCP has to Quick Labs has to destroy all of the instances you created and terminate every resource you have been using. So that's why they give you a temporary account and why you don't use your own normal accounts. But a good thing is whenever you're using your own account, also on Quick Labs, you also get a temporary account to try out stuff. You don't use your own account. It's not advisable. And if you do by mistake, let's say you want to just try out a few things you have seen on Quick Labs with your personal accounts, because so for example, why you might want to do this is if Quick Labs, you might basically go through the instructions of Quick Labs. You don't have enough credit on Quick Labs to take those quests, but then you have credits on your own personal account. Because if you head over to cloud.google.com/free, you get $300 for free for a year to try out Google Cloud Platform Services. So if you want to try out labs from Quick Labs and their instructions on your personal accounts, it's good to probably have a new project for that. So once you're done, you can delete the project, and deleting the project basically means you're deleting all of the instances you have created, all of the resources you have been using on that particular project. So if you feel you don't have the Quick Labs credits, you can still go ahead and use your own personal accounts and get the free $300 from Google. But then you should always try to terminate things when you're done learning. You don't want to have a server running, or not a Kubernetes server running for long. I mean, you're going to get billed for that very well. So it's okay to use your own accounts, but try to delete stuff when you're done. That's if you don't have Quick Labs credits to use accounts from Quick Labs. Someone is asking another question here. I don't know if Sam, you could take that. Is asking difference between channels and paths on Pluralsight.
Okay, so channels are more like a group of paths. So when you join a channel, you will see different parts of courses that you have to take for you to complete a particular track.
Okay, great, thanks. So there's a question here around Kubernetes and Docker. I think someone asked if what's the difference between Kubernetes and Docker. This is a for whenever you come into the containerization technology. I mean, a lot of these things are confusing at first. You're basically not done with Docker, and then you're hearing of Kubernetes. It's confusing, but then you should probably take your time to learn them out gradually. Docker basically can work without Kubernetes. Kubernetes can work without Docker, but then they go very well in hand. That's why most of the times you find them working out together. Kubernetes is more of managed Docker service. It helps you do a lot of orchestration and management of your Docker images. It helps you a lot of things you don't basically get from Docker out of the box. Kubernetes allows you to do them. Think of things like load balancers. It also watches your Docker images and sees whenever one is down, spins up a new ones for you. It introduces a lot of new concepts, things like having pods, and a lot of other terminologies like that, which I might not be able to explain here right now, but I might probably be able to send in some resources, maybe over Slack later. But it's also cool for you to probably go online and try to do some deep search around them, try to learn the differences. They're different, but they work together. Kubernetes is more of a managed Docker service. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Okay, Imo Imo Okon is asking. He said he would love to practice as many times as possible. So he wants to know if there is a limit to which you can use Quick Lab.
So for quick labs, like I said, there's basically no limit. I mean, if you don't, if you want to just go out of the conventional access you get from the course to access quick labs, it's fine. You can go ahead and have a quick labs account on your own. Try to have some credits in with it. If you don't even have no credit in it, you can use your own account. Like I said, have a sample project that you can delete whenever you're not doing stuff. And you can take those labs as many times as possible. I think I found myself taking labs over and over again more than once. And I mean, I'm going to show you something really cool now. I'll probably just share my screen to do this. Quick Labs is really awesome. If you've been thinking of focusing on cloud, a lot of things, it's awesome because you get to learn a lot of things, not just on Google Cloud, across various providers also. And you have this public profile. I'm basically going to share my screen now, so I can just show that off. You basically have a public profile which you can put on your LinkedIn account and places online. So you can see I've done like a lot of labs and quests in the past, and you have a special page for this. So from here you can see I have 97 labs taken, 5 completed quests. The way it works on Quick Labs is you have quests and labs within quests. So a quest is more of a project, and then labs are like exercises you take under that project. So for a quest, you could have, let's say, around 5 to 10 or more labs. And once you're done with all the labs on that quest, you get a badge. So you can see from here, I have like 5 badges, and this is something that is really cool. You can have them up on your pages on LinkedIn and wherever, what have you. And you can also always go back and take the labs over again whenever you want to. So yeah, I mean, a lot of cool stuff you get to learn from Quick Labs, and it's awesome.
Okay, Amaka, please, I would love you to take this question. And somebody is asking, what is the demand rate of cloud engineers and cloud architects in Africa? Do we have several opportunities or so much opportunities like jobs and stuff like that for them?
Okay. In Africa, so I would have to be speaking from informed data to be able to answer that question accurately. But in my opinion, like I know that very, very well, like what the Andela mission, for instance, solves is that we are empowering learners so that we can, we are investing in learners so that they can empower teams or work with teams, not just in Africa, but globally. So in my opinion, like I said, I would have to have very good data to answer that question answer that question very correctly or accurately. Or yes, so for the market, for the cloud markets in globally for the tech industry, I know that it's a growing market. Like it's in demand. People are asking. Companies are asking for cloud engineers, cloud developers, and cloud engineers and developers. So it's a growing industry. It's the demand is high. Demand is high globally. It's a high demand globally.
All right, thank you, Amaka. Timothy, any contribution to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fully with Amaka, and I mean, what I have to say right now is cloud is like awesome. I mean, it's one of those careers I don't see going down anytime, because a lot of these things coming up lately are based on cloud. Think of things like machine learning, AI, what have you. I mean, you basically find people training models for machine learning, and a lot of things on cloud right now. And right now, Google Cloud has been doing really cool in the cloud sector. I find myself doing a lot of Google Cloud work lately. Okay, recently I started working with some guys, Mercurial, and what we do is they are working on a product basically where you get to spin up instance of applications just within seconds. So I was able to programmatically have all of those working behind the scenes. What I was doing was basically making API calls to Google Cloud services. So okay, it works like this. You wanted what it basically wanted was to be able to spin up applications, and the applications were Docker. They were basically Docker images. So what we do is to have those applications run on Cloud Run, create a database for them on Cloud SQL, set up things like a bucket for them on cloud storage, and a lot of other cloud services like that. And all of those had to happen in a very short while, so the users doesn't wait forever. And that was very easy doing, and that was very cool. It was very nice doing that with Google Cloud. It's so, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do. Even working for normal companies, they have a lot of things they could leverage on cloud upon to make their work much faster. So I mean, the idea is a lot of things can be done with Google Cloud. There are low limitations, and it basically just helps you work more better. So yeah, cloud is really the future, I think. I mean, it's here to stay for long.
Yeah, somebody is also asking if we have remote jobs for cloud.
Oh yeah, my job is remote.
Definitely, definitely,
And there are a lot of remote jobs too, yeah.
definitely.
All right, so I think that's all the questions from my end, except you have any other thing you want to share.
Okay, I think I'm going to a few questions on the YouTube channel now. I don't know, Amaka, do you have anything before I pick up all the questions?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so someone asked if Linux commands are important for Google Cloud. I would say yes. I probably did not find it new because I had been using Linux for a while now. And when I started using Google Cloud, it was more like my daily operation, basic commands I use every day. But yeah, if you're coming from a Windows environment and you have not done LS before, I mean, you have not done a few Linux commands before in the past. I think it's something you should look up on. Linux commands are not too hard. They're basically more of the things you do, basically, just have them in a command form. I mean, they're quite simple. You could use a week or so to learn most of the commands you're going to be using on Linux. Yeah, so why I'm saying so is because if, for example, if you're using the Google Cloud Shell, most of the times you'd basically use the Google Cloud Shell to do a lot of things. Say spin up instances, set up clusters for Kubernetes, create databases. As if you don't want to use the GUI on Google Cloud, you want to get familiar with Cloud Shell commands. Most of the commands work more like Linux commands, and it's very basic. There are things you could pick up and work with very fast. So I think understanding Linux commands is a plus, and it's something you could easily pick up.
Okay, I want to add to that if you are, for instance, using a Windows machine, I think there is like Git Bash that you could use to practice with those Linux commands. So you can use Git Bash, for instance, to get the hang of how you can use the Linux commands on your Windows machine. Using Git Bash, you can use that to practice well, get the hang of that. It's always it's a plus. It's definitely a plus.
Yeah, thanks, Amaka. Someone, Olabdu, says he has come across blogs talking about future of serverless as the future of cloud computing and containers. Yeah, I think right now, I mean, you basically don't want to build applications and start having them run individually. What you basically want is to just have them in a container and have your containers deployed. I'm really going to, so as of right now, I don't know if Google Cloud would add Cloud Run, because latest addition on Compute Engine is Cloud Run. Cloud Run basically allows you run your containers as deploy your containers as an application on the cloud, and it works serverlessly. It's so if you think of App Engine. App Engine has something quite similar, but now you're being able to run your containers as so. I mean, you can think of it as container as a service, whereby your application is basically running as a serverless architecture, but then they're still based on your Docker images. So yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are going serverless. And right now we have like combination of serverless and containers together with Cloud Run, Google Cloud Run. It's good you check it up. I personally use Cloud Run a lot. I think I've written a few posts about it. It's really cool stuff to use, and with Cloud Build allowing you do a lot of automation, you could directly from your source from your repo, let's say on GitHub, Bitbucket, or Google Cloud source repos, have a configuration files that whenever you push code, it looks at your Docker file, builds a new image for you, and deploys that on Cloud Run. And all of those are very short steps. I think I have a blog post for that. I would probably drop the link to that soon. So yeah, so containers right now are more of what's trending, and I think they'll keep trending for a while because it makes the whole work much easier, and your cloud providers are basically giving more attention to them. You can look at likes of Knative, Kubernetes, Cloud Run, and a lot of other services that focus more on containerized applications. So yeah, I think containers are really cool too. So you should check them out. And I do believe a few of the questions you'll be getting on the certification exam would focus on things like this.
Wow, thank you very much, Timothy.
Yep, awesome.
So I don't know, can you share your maybe social media handle so that these guys can reach out to you when they have any challenge?
Okay, great, sure. That's basically I think on active on Twitter. I try to read through tweets a lot. It's Simtech for you. I'll drop that on the YouTube chat right now. I would also send the links. I think Sam can do that. So I'll send the links right now through Sam. Yeah, so I think there's a question here around cloud functions. Cloud functions are quite similar to your deployed environments that run serverlessly. I mean, they're basically just if you've heard of BaaS in the past, backend as a service, it's more of you having a set of code online that runs at a particular time. They work based on triggers. You have various triggers for cloud functions, and if you have used Firebase in the past, there's also Firebase cloud functions, which is very similar to cloud functions, but then it gets triggered. For example, when you have new records on Firebase and what have you. But then for cloud functions generally, the whole concept is that you are able to have sort of code online that can be triggered. Most of the times it can be triggered based HTTPS. HTTP calls. For example, when you make a call, you get your return back, or you could also have it trigger when things happen. Say, for example, I mean, one of the common use of cloud functions could be to compress images. So whenever your users upload images, or let's say resize images. So let's say whenever users upload images, you want to say compress them or resize them and have them stored somewhere else, or perform some operations. For example, on an e-commerce site, you could say whenever someone checks out, you could perform some operations. Those are some of the things you do with cloud functions, and they run serverlessly because they basically get called only when they are being triggered. So yeah, and looking at cost, right? Looking at cost right now on Google Cloud, most of the things that run serverlessly are quite cheaper. You don't get billed as much as you do for things that run 24/7. Basically, Cloud Run is way more cheaper right now than Compute Engine because, Compute Engine VM instances in particular, because you don't have them run always. You basically have them triggered when your users try to access them.
Okay. So let me check if we have any last question that we can take before rounding up. Oh, we don't have any question.
Okay, so
you can just run up.
Okay, great. I might have skipped a few questions, probably by mistake or so, but I mean it's fine. I've dropped my handle. I think Amaka can do the same probably. And if there are any questions from the learners, you could reach out to us on Slack or on Twitter. I'm sure we'd try to respond as much as possible, as fast as possible, and help you answer such questions. I wish all the best, guys. Wishing all the best. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing more techies in cloud, Google Cloud. I mean, it's a really cool platform. So yeah, wishing you guys all the best.
All right, Amaka, your final word.
Yes, so just like Timothy said, and I think I dropped my Slack handle is at Amy, AMY at AMY. And then I'm not really that quite active on Twitter, but if you think Twitter works for you, you can also reach out to me on Twitter at Amy Strings. So Amy on Slack and then Amy Strings on Twitter also. That's fine with me.
All right, thank you very much, Amaka. Thank you very much, Timothy. It's been an amazing journey so far. We started off with the web track with AJ, then moved on to the cloud with Timothy and Amaka. So I think the last track that we are going to be treating on is Android, and we have Toby here with us. Toby, over to you.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Tobina Ezike. I'm an Android developer here in Nigeria. And welcome to this session. So I'll just do a brief, I'm going to have to share my screen. Okay. So I'll just get into what exactly the Android track is about and what learners are expected to do, how much content to cover, and what the Associate Android Developer Certification Exam entails. Okay. So, sorry, let me share. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Sure, I can see it.
Okay. So, first of all, congrats to everyone that got the scholarship and wish you luck. So, I think this is for the Android track, we have the learning phase 1 main track and deep dive. So they basically cover most of what you need to know, first of all, about Android development, and secondly, to take the exam. So if you happen to go through the requirements for the Associate Android Developer Examination, you see that they focus on five main concepts. So you have core Android concepts, you have user interface, you have data management, and debugging and testing. So getting into these individual concepts. So you have a few requirements. They have a few requirements for people that are interested in taking the exam. So for Android core, you just have to understand the architecture of the Android system, be able to build a basic Android app, understand just basic stuff, how to build app and how to localize apps, know all about activities, services, content providers, and all the basic building blocks of Android. Then for data management, I think they are finally getting into Room. So I'm guessing older versions of this exam would have probably used SQLite. But yeah, for data management, they are talking about Room now. So you probably just need to understand how Room works. And well enough, they have resources down here too that you can use to prepare for the exam or as an additional content to the Pluralsight courses. So for debugging, just still basic stuff. So debugging techniques and fixing issues, learning how to use a system log, understanding how to use breakpoints in Android Studio and inspecting variables. So they also have resources down here for people to like get into. And finally, testing. I feel testing is something people don't talk about a lot, but in Nigeria anyway. But yeah, so you get to you need to learn all about writing tests in Android. So JUnit tests, UI tests, Espresso, and all of that. And they have really cool resources, and they have really cool resources for learning all that. And these code labs are really, would I say, important. So they kind of give you simple apps that you can use to kind of hammer in the concepts that you've read. So reading about these things and watching videos is cool and all, but you really need to get your hands down building something. So you need to get the code, run it on Android Studio, go through all the processes and all the downs and highs of Android development. So I think taking these code labs will really be important for all of us, for everyone that wants to take this examination, because I mean, it's a coding examination, so you probably need to do this code lab. So every resource that they give has a code lab, and it's really important to take them in addition to Pluralsight courses. So there's also code labs for Room and for Android Core. Then heading back to Pluralsight, so you see, you basically have courses that cover almost everything that Google has as a requirements for taking the exam. So you have courses on testing, you've got courses on the Android experience, probably Android Core, building your first connected app. So I think that's Android Core. You have something on testing too. And then for data management, I think this course will be sufficient. So I think this course also treats Room, building apps with Android architecture components. And I think that course treats Room. So you'll be able to understand, persisting your data with Room persistence solution. So that course should really handle all that. And the course also touches on testing. I've taken it before and it's really cool. So it touches on testing architecture components. So there's exposing data and information outside your Android app and overcoming common Android performance barriers. So I've not taken the exam before, but I feel a lot of it is going to be debugging little issues and little pain. Hello?
Hello, Toby.
Yeah, so I feel like I went off.
Oh. Yeah, so you can continue.
Okay. Sorry, I have this weird plugin that suspends my tabs. Okay. So I'm just going through the YouTube. So sorry guys, I feel like I went off, my network went off. I'll just get this away and share my screen again. So is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it's visible.
All right. So screen sharing. Okay. So I was going through the different parts of the Associate Android Developer examination. So I don't know where I went off, but yeah, I'll just continue. So I mentioned they have the core. Let me go back. Core user interface, data management, debugging, and testing. And I was pointing to Pluralsight courses that touch on all these concepts. So For core, you have these two courses, enhancing the Android application experience and building your first connected app with Android Studio. You have working with Android tools and testing. So that should probably deal with testing for people preparing for the exam. And then building apps with Android architecture components would get you in the know with the room persistence library. So for the room part of the exam, probably, you're going to be testing with room. For the data management part of the exam, they'll probably be testing with room. So this course would get you in the know with room, live data, view model, and others architecture components. So that's for the main track. Then for the deep dive, so the deep dive has a lot of, should I say, deep courses. So the deep dive has a lot of deep courses, yeah. So they kind of included a lot of things from the newer APIs for Android development. So you have something navigation architecture components, and you have something on constraint layouts, and you got gestures and recycler view, custom views, real-time database with Firebase, and using Picasso. I think I saw someone had an issue with Picasso on Slack, and he eventually fixed it, so that's fine. So for the user interface part of the exam, they seem to be big on constraint layouts. So they have, you should be able to construct a UI with constraint layout. So I'm guessing people should pay attention to constraint layouts when taking the courses. So there's a course by Rebecca Franks. So for user interface. And generally the courses are quite a lot, to be honest. But I think we have enough time from now till August when the first phase will be over. So I think the requirements for passing through the first phase is to, let me see, how did tab open? Something about getting phase 1. So watch at least 4 hours of Pluralsight courses, and any proficient or advanced skill IQ in your chosen track. Okay, so yeah, those are not really high demands. Just giving the course your time you would finish it in no time. And most importantly, this is not really just about passing the exam, it's more about becoming a proficient Android developer. And I think Pluralsight courses are very, very detailed and will definitely help anyone that wants to get into Android. So that's that for the courses. I don't know, trying to see the questions that people may have. Okay, on Slack. Someone is asking if Java is still relevant for Android or Kotlin is the next best thing. Yeah, so Java, Kotlin, they're just languages. So you can pretty much do anything on Android with either Java or Kotlin. But, so Google announced that Android development is now Kotlin first. So when fleshing out new features for Android and new APIs, so Kotlin is going to be considered first. And then Kotlin as a language has some of its own really cool features, something like coroutines. So, and that is not something you have in Java. And so I'm guessing if you want to do Android in 2019, going forward, you should totally do it in Kotlin. And to help people that want to do that, Google has this awesome course on Udacity that you can take. So Udacity has similar courses to that on Pluralsight. So if you want to expand, if you want to check out new content, if you want to get a different idea, maybe not different, but just hear something else from someone else about the things you're learning on Parasites, you can also check out Udacity. Google has a lot of courses that they made for Android there. So yeah, there was yeah. So on using Java or Kotlin. So while the Associate Android Developer exam, I think it's still currently Java, but you can always keep learning Kotlin on the side. So Kotlin is the language for Android development now, and you should definitely learn it before next year. Yeah, so sorry, I'm trying to go through the comments. Okay, so I'm not seeing a lot of questions here, but yeah, you're welcome. So that's good if we Kotlin.
So somebody is
Yeah.
asked if you started a project with Java, it will be compatible with Kotlin.
Yeah, sure. So Kotlin and Java are interoperable. You can have both Java and Kotlin files in one project. You can't have Java and Kotlin code in one class, but you can have Java and Kotlin files in one project. So if you start a project in Java, you can continue with Kotlin. If you start in Kotlin, you can continue with Java. You can call Kotlin code, can call Kotlin classes in Java classes. You can call Java classes in Kotlin classes. Yeah, so they are pretty much interoperable. There's really no overhead with combining them, except the fact that your code base will look a little bit messy. So you want to have some consistency. You want to have some consistency when you're writing your code. So it's probably best to just use one language, I think. Yeah, but if there's ever need to do anything out of the ordinary, you can combine both languages in one project efficiently. Yeah. So looks like where's the code? For more questions, I think there are a number of questions on Slack for Android. I know people were asking about Gradle problems. So, I mean, in Android, we have this really troublesome build system called powered by Gradle. So, at times it can be quite hard to work with and requires some patience and all that. So, I think one of the best ways to deal with Gradle problems is just to have good internet. So, usually, if you have poor internet, you might get some really bad builds, and your builds might keep failing. But yeah, if you have good internet, you should be fine. And then you can also consider using Gradle offline, except when you really need to sync online. Maybe when you add new dependencies to your build.gradle file. So, but working with Gradle offline is fine. And if you're going to work online, you need very good internet for that. Sorry, someone is asking about mentors. Okay, sorry. There's a question on relative layouts. Yeah, so from Jackson, I think relative layout is still supported. So, I mean, I kind of used it last week or something, and I use Android Studio 3.5 beta 5. So relative layout is still supported. There's no, the class hasn't been deprecated yet. I'm not sure it's ever going to be deprecated. So, yet, I don't know. So you can pretty much use relative layout. Your problem may be from something else. Maybe you're missing a Gradle dependency or something. But relative layout is still pretty much supported in Android. Although constraint layout is probably cooler to use. Yeah. So someone has a question on Flutter. No, I don't think you can do your project in Flutter. I'm sorry. your project has to be in Java. It has to be in Java. Yeah, I think Java. I don't even think you can do them in Kotlin. So some of these programs have specifications that you need to obey. So when you're doing your projects, probably do it in Android, Java, and use whatever libraries they want you to use. Then for questions on when the phases are ending and all that, so I'll just open this tab again, and we can get a look at it. So oh, sorry for all that noise. I'm not sure the time frames are here. Funny enough. Hello, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the time frames for the phases. So when phase 1 will be ending, phase 2, and then phase 2 projects.
Okay, so for now, phase 1 will be ending by 6th of August.
Okay. 6th of August.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm guessing there's no date for phase 2 yet. I don't know. I don't think anybody should be interested in that for now. Hello?
I think we have a question from Manzu.
Okay. Manzo.
Okay, somebody is saying, hello, I have problem with the course because the Android Studio 2.3.1 used is different from my Android Studio 2.3.1 in features. What can I do to solve this?
I'm not sure that is possible. So I think Android Studio 2.3.1 is the same globally, or maybe there's a difference in the UI or something. But I'm not sure how that is possible. So maybe you can throw more light on your question to see that. Well, yeah.
Maybe he must have reconfigured his workspace.
Possibly. There's a question on someone moving to Japan. Move to Japan. So I don't think it matters your location. I mean, once you've been selected for the project, it's a remote. Everything is online, so nobody really knows where you are. So you could be in Antarctica doing the program from there, and you'll be totally fine. So moving from your country to Japan doesn't affect your selection in any way, and all. Then a question from Julius. Do you need to master Java programming or just have a basic knowledge about Java to progress successfully? Yeah, so the courses kind of teach you Java and Android on the side. You don't need to be a Java master to do Android. You just need to have a basic understanding of the fundamentals, or a good understanding of the fundamentals, your for loops, your if statements, your object-oriented paradigms, creating objects and all that. So you just need these fundamentals. You need to have them on lockdown, and you'll be fine. Then other things like threading, performance also would also help. But you don't have to be a Java master to do Android. You just need to know the fundamentals well. And luckily, I think the courses kind of touch on these fundamental concepts along the way. So they don't just teach you Android, they also teach you Java on the side. And if you pay attention, you pick up a lot of the Java sides of it. So,
There's another question here. It says, I am unable to locate where relative layout is located.
Wow. Okay. Unable to locate where it's. So, in your design pane, I think. Okay. I don't know. Can you see my screen? Let me look
Yeah,
for
I
it.
can see it.
Let me see if I can find something quick. So usually, I mean, if you're doing XML, you can just start your native layout yourself. Like you don't have to look for it. But if you're working from the design pane, I think it's somewhere. Oh, it's not even there anymore. So there's constraint, there's linear, there's frame, there's Here's this guys. Okay. They haven't removed it, have they? Constraint, linear, frame, table layout, table row. Or it appears it's not legacy. Okay, yeah, it's in legacy. So if you navigate to the legacy part of your design pane, you can access native layout. So and you can access grid layout, list view, tab host, and grid view. So I think these things are here in legacy because they've been replaced by better APIs. Not replaced per se, but well, replaced. So for relative layout, you have things like constraint layout now. So you probably wouldn't have need for relative layout that much. Then for list view, you have your recycler view now, and also for grid view. So recycler view replaces both of them. But if you really need relative layout, it's right here. So you can just drag and drop it somewhere, and you'd have it there. So it appears relative layouts and all. Then if that doesn't still work for you, you can always start it up by yourself. I mean, there's relative layout tag here. So once you do this, you should have relative layouts there for you. And then you can set these guys. Yeah. So relative layout is right there. I hope that answers your question. Someone is asking if we need to migrate to Android X. No, and basically you don't need to migrate to Android X for most things. But if you want to make use of the newer Android APIs, you probably need to migrate to Android X. So especially if you're using Kotlin, Google has these really cool libraries and APIs, the KTX dependencies. So they kind of reduce boilerplate code to an even more minimal level than what Kotlin is already doing for us. So, but if you're starting any project, I mean, just start off with Android X. But if you already have a project running in that doesn't use Android X, I don't think you should migrate. Migrating to Android X from support libraries can be quite the task. So Android Studio has its own. Android Studio has a migrating tool somewhere. There's a migrate to Android X tool here. But most times it doesn't do the migration properly, and you'd still be left with a few bugs here and there. And some of your class parts won't be converted to Android X. Some of your widgets won't be converted to Android X, and a lot of things. So maybe just continue with support library. I'm not sure what the problem you're having with support library, but maybe you can post it on Slack so we can look at it. How many people will make it to phase 2? I don't know, Sam. How many people will make it to phase 2?
Okay, 10,000 people are moving to phase 2.
Wow. Yeah, 10,000 people are moving to phase 2. So that's enough, a lot of people.
So Linus Caesar has a question here. He says his preview screen is not showing.
Preview screen isn't showing. That's in Android Studio, I believe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Android Studio has times when it misbehaves. I mean, that's something we all know. If you're having a challenge, so you can first of all try rebuilding your projects. If you rebuild your project successfully, then your preview screen should show. If it's still not showing, you can restart Android Studio, I think, and either of those should solve the problem. And if it doesn't, maybe just hit me up on Slack so that we can look at it again together. But rebuilding your project, so you can just make, can just rebuild project and or sync Buildable files or just close and open it. So there are a lot of hacky ways of dealing with Android Studio. Yeah. So in Android Studio 3.4.1, I cannot find palettes by default. I'm not sure what that is addressing. But I think if you go through these guys here, you should probably find anything you want. Yeah. Just look carefully, you'll be able to find any of the widgets that you're looking for in Android Studio. I don't know if that's what you mean by palettes. So when will phase 1 end? Phase 1 is ending on the 6th of August. Is Kotlin leveraging on Java? Leveraging, I'm not sure what that is, but Kotlin decompiles to Java bytecode. So both Java and Kotlin use the JVM. I mean, they're not the only JVM language these days. I think Scala, Clojure, I think they're JVM languages too, if I'm not mistaken. So Kotlin isn't really leveraging Java, but both Java and Kotlin use the JVM. So if you decompile a Kotlin class, it will probably show you Java bytecode, but that doesn't mean it's leveraging Java. I don't think it does. Someone is having problems with AVD, CPU compatibility. Well, so the Android Studio, the emulator is quite heavy. So even for people that have relatively powerful PCs, still prefer to run their apps on the phone. So and yeah, you can have I think there are requirements for the processor types that can run the emulator. So you need to have virtual something and all that. So there's a chance your PC may not have that, and you have to use your phone to run your apps instead. Or you can get another PC, but that's a big call. So I think you should just use your phone to run your apps if your PC processor doesn't support running the emulator. So someone is asking, where can we find more exercises to practice? So I showed the code labs. So the code labs are a great place to practice. The code labs are a great place to practice whatever concept. So basically everything you're learning on Parasites, Google has some resources on them too. So I mean, look at all this. You can take these code labs, each of them. Let me probably walk through one. So each code lab has a project assigned to it. It has like a pet project that you're supposed to build. And it has steps. So it takes you through steps that you need to go, that you need to take to build an app. I think the projects are usually hosted on GitHub, or they give you a zip file to download. I'm not sure where this one is. But yeah, if you go through it, I mean, you see where it asks you to get it. And maybe you have to create a project from scratch. So this looks like a project that you create from scratch. So this one is just about layouts and all. So I'm seeing something about, you can find a list of code labs here somewhere. Okay. All right, this is cool. So there's this link here. I don't know, I'll probably put this on Slack for you guys. So I'll put it on Slack. So this link gives you all the code labs for pretty much most things. So you have code labs for UI, you have code labs for testing, you have code labs for user experience and working in the background or async task. Yeah, there's code labs for room too and shared preferences. So you should, I don't know, probably put this link on Slack or something so you guys can access it and all that. Yeah, so that's that for extra exercises. And Do we need both Java and Kotlin in order to pass the Google certification? No, I don't think you do need both languages. I think so there's an overview where you can get requirements for the course, for the exam. So I think currently the exam is still in Java. So it doesn't even use Kotlin at the moment. So yeah. So I think Java is just good for you. There's also an FAQ here. You can check out more information about the exam. Then exam contents. So these are still the basic stuff. So yeah, but Google isn't specific about the language. You can use pretty much just Java for it. I don't even think you can use Kotlin at the moment. So where can I find palettes? It's palette question. I think that's probably something you can Google. I'm not sure if palette is one of the things here. But I know Google's palette API is you probably need to call it a code, call it in your Kotlin or Java classes. I think so. I've used it once. So, but I mean, if you do a quick Google, you can find how to find palettes. But I'm not sure I want to go into that now. Sorry. People using Android Studio 3.4, while the lecture used 2.3. I don't know what problems you're facing, but I think you should put it on Slack with specific problems so that we can address them. I don't think you should have any problem using a more recent version of Android Studio for the courses. Okay, there's a response for someone that isn't seeing the previous screen. So if you want to see the previous screen, right? You make sure that you click on the preview tag. There's a preview tag here. I hope you guys can see my screen. I don't know how else to do this. There's a preview tag here. Make sure you click on it to see your screen. Or you can use the design tab. So design tab brings out everything for you. And you can see all your widgets here. So this can probably help you too. So make sure you're doing that if you're not seeing it. Is there a plugin you can use to make your app responsive in all devices? I'm not sure there's any such plugin. It's probably something you need to do on your own. So you need to tap for different screen sizes and for all that. I think the preview screen also helps you a little with that. Here you can choose devices that you want to preview your screen on based on screen size. You can choose really small devices, generic fonts. So it helps you visualize your screen. You can also choose the landscape and all that. Then you can actually build your screen for a particular screen size, so or a particular orientation. So from here you can create a different XML for landscape and a different XML for tablets and all that, for night mode and all that. So you can do that here. This will help you visualize how your screen will look on different devices to make sure it's responsive. And yeah, using Genymotion. Yeah, Genymotion is really cool. So if Android Studio emulator is giving you issues, you should totally try Genymotion and use it to test your apps. Yeah, this is the Android track session. Someone was asking that. Yeah, so I see a question about architecture components. Should we start doing personal project using recent Android architecture? Yeah, so you should totally use MVVM. That's my personal preference anyway, but you can also use MVP. But yeah, your app should have an architecture either way. So don't just bloat your activities with logic. If you go back to Parasites, there's a course on sorry. In the main track, there's a course on architecture components. So the course is really nice. So the course started out with an app with limited activities and a lot of spaghetti code, a God activity. So, and then they refactored the app all through the course. So this course is a huge recommendation from me. Take it and it will help you understand a lot about Android architecture so that you won't have bloated activities and spaghetti code. And someone was asking what courses are to be taken for learning phase 1. Well, I mean, you should probably take all the courses, but because you have a lot of time and it will definitely pay off if you take most of or all of them. But if you're looking for specific ones to look at, oh damn it, my screen isn't showing again. Okay. Yeah, so you can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, it went off. Okay, so I think taking courses that border around the exam itself would probably be important. So I've mentioned already that the exam touches on 5 areas: core Android concepts, user interface, data management, debugging, and testing. So Parasites has all these courses on each of these. So I mean, you should complete every course in the main track. So every single one of them, you should take them, and I think you'll be good to go. Then the deep dive is really just what it is. It just expands on the courses in the main track. But make sure you complete the courses in the main track before getting into the deep dive. It just highlights on some of the other APIs that Android has. So you have services, you have intents, and there's also Firebase. So I don't think the test on Firebase anyway. But for the deep dive, you can take the course on constraint layouts. I'm not sure about augmented reality. That's not part of the testing that the questions they're asking the exam, but yeah, you should look into it. So then get around into navigation too. Constraint layout navigation. And yeah, if there's anything on testing, if there's anything on data management, there's Picasso, if there's anything on debugging, make sure you look into it. If there's anything on the fundamental concepts and building blocks of Android, so things like services, intents, content providers, localization and internationalization, and threading. So these are things you should pay very great attention to. There's also a Java part. I'm just probably saying that. So yeah, you should also definitely look into this. So this will help you understand a lot about what's going on in Android, especially if you're totally new to Java. And I see this course also focuses on Java 12. It did so. So yeah, this course would also probably help you with understanding Java a lot more. And I saw another course again. There was this guy. Okay, I think this is the beginner course. So you can get in touch with this one if you need to refresh your memory on a lot of things, but you should have taken this course during the challenge phase already. Yeah, so let me see. The IQ tests. The IQ tests, you're supposed to take them after you've consumed some amount of the courses, at least so you can get a really good score. So I thought someone was asking how he can retake it. Sam, I don't know about the IQ tests. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sam. Yeah, so
the
questions around the IQ tests, people, yeah.
Okay,
IQ tests, someone is asking why you take it, yeah.
So after, if you have taken it before, you will be restricted from taking it except you maybe consume some amount of the content. Otherwise, if you took it before and you just want to take it the second time, you won't be allowed to do so. So you have to consume some content before you'll be allowed to take another IQ test.
Okay, so that's for people asking which IQ tests. I think if you have any questions on Android Studio, please just reach out on Slack. Please reach out on Slack so that we can get into it. So again, for those that have done this IQ test before, so for those that have a really good score from maybe the challenge phase, do they need to retake it?
Yeah, there is no harm in trying. You can try the second time and you have a better score. So there is no harm in doing that.
Okay. Yeah. So more questions on Android, I think there's a lot. Yeah, please wait until 60% course before you take the IQ testing. So for those asking now, phase 1 will last again. Phase 1 lasts till 6th of August. Again, people with issues on Android Studio, please reach out on Slack. Make sure you build your projects so that, I mean, if you build your projects, your IDE should probably look like your mentor's own. That's the video you're watching, probably. The Google certification lasts for 3 years, I think. So there's this, if you have questions about the exam, the FAQ, there's an FAQ page. You can reach out there and get information. So the exam is valid for 36 months. That's 3 years. Expires. I was asking about, so you're going to get your mentors eventually. The assignments will happen soon as possible, I'm sure. Then if you've had your IQ test already and you're an expert or you're proficient, and whenever it's open again, you can always retake it and reach for a higher score. Can you please demonstrate relative activity? Sorry, I don't get the question on relative activity with layout resources and main activity. Okay, I think it's something to do with the course. Okay, sorry, Isaiah, maybe just reach out to me on Slack so that we can walk through it. Yeah, so is it possible to develop an app using both React Native and Android Studio? I'm not very sure about this React Native question. I'm not very sure, I'm sorry. But I don't think it works like this, having XML and then having the activity JavaScript. I think React Native uses a native UI pattern, I think. So I don't think using XML and using JavaScript in your activities will work. Android Studio only recognizes Java, Kotlin, and I think C++. Yeah. So if anybody else has an Android specific question, so Isam, is there other questions for maybe Slido?
Let me check. Okay, somebody says that the AVD keeps displaying just black screens and errors and is not responding to app. He has cleared his
Yeah,
data, but he's still not responding.
there's a lot of long stories around the Android Studio emulator. So my recommendation would be to use your phone for debugging. I think that's probably best, to use your phone to debug instead of using the emulator. So, but I mean, maybe if you have a particular issue with the emulator, maybe try deleting it and adding a new one. That might help also.
Yeah, that's all the questions we have here.
So Linus said I should read. I mean, there's so much information here. I'm trying to go through the comments on YouTube. Downloading videos from Parasites. So yeah, you can download videos from Parasites using the mobile app or the web interface. I think they have a desktop app also. And yeah, it is quite slow, to be honest. I've tried it and it wasn't very wonderful experience. But so what I usually do is to set up the downloads and then leave it on for a few hours and just come back and possibly it's completed. Also, you need to have very good bandwidth with your internet. Yeah, so for now, we don't have any other options apart from downloading with the mobile app and the web app. So just have good internet and be patient with the download. That's about that. For those that are still asking about the next phase, so I'll probably still paste this thing for you here. So for the first phase, you earn a good IQ score, consume at least 4 hours of Pluralsight courses, and that should get into learning phase 2. And for phase 2, you watch at least 10 hours and then earn a good score again. And after that, you get to do a project and you graduate. So that's pretty much it. I've sent a link to that information on Slack. So so we see, looking for more questions. The associate Android developer exam. So this article I was checking out from someone that's taken it, although it seems to be old. I think they've restructured the exam. So I'm going to put this link on Slack. But I'm adding a disclaimer that the exam may have been restructured. So the exam used to be for 24 hours, I think. Then right now, I think it's for 8 hours. And it's there. You're going to get a project. I believe you're going to get a project, and you'll be asked to do whatever inside it. Maybe add features, debug, test, and all that. So it's going to use a project-based exam, and it's for 8 hours now. I think so. So after the exam, you have a call with some guys from Google, and I think maybe after those, they'll get back to you. Yeah, so please, yeah, just like Nicolas said, please focus on the courses on Parasite and maybe don't bother about things like React Native, Ionic, or Python for now. So, I mean, the aim of this program is to get you the scholarship that will enable you to take the Android certification exam. So try to focus more on the courses and work on completing them. Yeah, so grouping everyone. Yeah, so eventually you're going to be organized in groups and you'll be assigned a mentor to head each group. So that will come in the following weeks or days. So don't worry about being grouped. That's eventually going to happen. The exam is project-based. So that looks like most or all of it. For people that have more questions, please reach out on Slack. I think that's the best we can do now.
Okay, so thank you very much, Toby.
Yeah. Welcome.
I also want to appreciate AJ, who handled the web track, and Timothy and Amaka, who took care of the cloud track. And I believe the learners has learned one thing or more. And I want to employ you, everybody. You can always reach on to this guy on Slack. They're always ready to help you. So this will be the end of our meetup for today. See you on Slack. Let's continue our conversation over there. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Sam.